Ladies and gentlemen, this is a week one draft match between the Kentucky Wildbolts versus the Rolled Gold Pretzels. This is the UGA, the Universal Gaming Association. And we've got, like I said, the Kentucky Wildbolts, Goomer 22's team versus the Rolled Gold Pretzels, which is Goomy 2020's team. We've got, obviously Goomer, one who gooms, and Goomy, something or someone that is of the Goom, or could be described as Goom-ish, or Goom-y. So they're going to hop into this battle. This is a best of three. I really haven't taken a look at their teams much, so, but I guess I'll analyze the game as it goes along here. This is from Goomer's point of view. It looks like he's got the Cobalion, the Salazzle, Salamence, Sudowoodo, the Pelican, Tapu Bulu, and taking on Goomy's his classic Ludicolo, his best friend, the Ludicolo, Thundurus, Cinderace, Sawk, Purloin, and Tangela. This is an interesting matchup. Very strong looking teams here, to be honest. It looks like, he's got the Pelipper. I almost wonder if this Pelipper has Drizzle on it, because it really doesn't seem like it does much for Goomer's team. But it could do something for Goomy's team. As he does have that Ludicolo, he might have brought that just to straight up counter the Pelipper and kind of, make it really awkward for him to set rain. As it does have that speed control with Swift Swim. What I'm thinking, what I see from Goomy's side, or Burrell's side, is that the Thundurus and the Cinderace look like the optimal Dynamax candidates here. Obviously, you could Dynamax Ludicolo too, strong Dynamax candidate, but really sort of more optimal in rain. I guess he could set the rain by himself. We'll see what happens. Where on Goomer's side, it looks like Salamence and Cobalion are probably the Dynamax candidates here. But let's see. We are hopping into game one of the set. Both some beautiful snowy trainer cards. Okay, Goomy is going to lead the Cinderace and the Tangela. And Goomer leading with the Cobalion and the Salazzle. Looks like he's opting to switch here. As you know, Cobalion does have that justified ability, and Salazzle does get access to beat up, as you see it right there. But he's not wanting to go for it. It looks like he's going for something else. Maybe wanting to take out this Tangela. Tango with Eviolite is very bulky, especially on the defensive side. His special defense not so great, but having access to that Eviolite is really helps it out. Okay, he's going to hard switch into Salamence. Salamence, he shows here that the Salamence is Intimidate. That's going to make it really awkward for this Cinderace. But it looks like Goomy is going to Dynamax. And I'm assuming this is the Cinderace. It is. This is G-Max Cinderace Dynamaxing. Although, a Dynamax Big Ball of Vines, that would have been awesome. Tangela going for the Rage Powder as probably expected by Goomer. Cinderace going for that Max Airstream. Gonna get a speed boost here. It does bring Salazzle very low. I don't know if that was a roll. Salazzle going for the Heat Wave. Doing a lot on that Tangela. Very smart doing the spread damage against the Rage Powder, and doing quite a bit on the Cinderace too, as it did change its type from fire to flying, so it was a neutral hit. Honestly, as of now, I feel like Goomer has a little bit more of the momentum here, or is in a slightly better position, as, Goomy went right for his Dynamax. He's using up his Dynamax right away, and he does have -1 attack. But let's see what he opts to do here. I don't believe Cinderace gets any coverage that would hit this Salamence for super effective. Goomer is going to Dynamax here, and he's going to go for the Salamence. Dynamax Salamence, a very, very strong Pokemon. His Dynamax does have Intimidate. It doesn't have that Moxie threat, but it's still very, very scary, as it is really strong. Going for another Rage Powder. Cinderace going for the Max Knuckle, trying to get that attack back to neutral. He's going into the Salazzle. I didn't check on the Salazzle item. I don't know if it was Sash, so I don't know if that Intimidate really saved it, but nevertheless, it goes down here to a Max Knuckle. Cinderace is back up to neutral attack power. And we do see that it's a Life Orb. I didn't notice last turn. But Goomer going for the Max Airstream, maybe making a read there, suspecting that he might go for a Max Knuckle. Either way, that's big damage, and down goes Cinderace. I don't think that kills if it's not super effective. So Goomy is out of Dynamax for this game, and Goomer has a big, big Salamence. Staring down a Tangela, staring down a Thundurus. And we're going to see Cobalion come back in. Now, Salamence does have the speed control at this point, unless we see like a Scarf Thundurus or something like that, which I would not suspect here. Goomy really going to have to play well to be able to stall out this Dynamax and shift the momentum. Tangela goes for a Protect, suspecting maybe an attack of the Cobalion. I'm not sure. Salamence going for a Rockfall into the Thundurus. This is going to be big damage. It is going to OHKO. And this might just be GG's. I'm not sure what Goomy has in the back that could really change this game here. Goomer still has one turn of Dynamax left. Sawk is the last Pokemon here, and I don't think it's going to be enough to take down Goomer. That big Salamence, he's got the Cobalion, and he's still got another Pokemon in the back. Tangela going for the Rage Powder, just doing pretty much all it can do. And we see the Salamence avoiding the Rage Powder. I'm not sure how it did that, unless it has safety goggles. That's the only way I can think that would work. Really interesting prep from Goomer. He's suspecting that Rage Powder. So yeah, game one goes to Goomer here. I suspect Goomy's going to switch it up for game two, being that he kind of let his Dynamax go, and I feel like that was not part of his game plan. And as you see there, right there, the Salamence is safety goggles, the Salazzle is Focus Sash. But if I know Goomy, he has a plan for game two. He's not a one-trick kind of fighter. He doesn't go into these sets with one plan in mind and no plan B. So we'll see what he leads this time. Goomer, we can see going with the Salazzle and Cobalion again, threatening that beat up, justified combo. I think the really big key to this match is how both opponents are using their Dynamax, because as you can see, the sweepers on either side, which is probably the Cobalion or the Salamence on Goomer's side, or the Thundurus and the Cinderace on Goomy's side, These are very, very snowball, hyper offense kind of Pokemon. Man, as you see, the Salamence just Dynamax and just absolutely went to town. You know, I mean, I believe that game was 4 turns, if I'm not mistaken. And I think whether Goomer takes game 2 or Goomy takes game 2, I think it's going to be a quick one as well. Just because they both have these hyper offensive teams, they just have to be careful about, you know, getting those sweepers in a good position so that they can snowball. The interesting thing here is that Salamence with the Intimidate really threatens that Cinderace, but at the same time, you know, if Goomy has Defiant on Thundurus, it makes it awkward for that Salamence. And you can see here he leads the Thundurus and the Sock. Now, a Salamence switch-in not going to be so useful here, at least against the Thundurus. Thundurus. Salazzle is the fastest Pokemon on the field currently, and Thundurus is the second fastest, so see what Goomer decides to do here. It looks like he's not wanting to go for that beat up, and I don't blame him because what would probably play out here if he went for the beat up is that the Thundurus would Dynamax, Airstream the Cobalion, give Sock a speed boost, and Sock would get a fighting move off and hit the Cobalion really hard before the Cobalion got any chance to boost its defense with a Steel Spike or do any damage. So sort of a risky play, and Goomer identifies that, switches out to Pelipper, but Goomy says, I'm not threatened by really anything right now, and I'm just going to Dynamax Thundurus. Salazzle goes for the Will-O-Wisp. That's huge. And we don't see a Lumberry coming out. So that's actually really, really, really good for Goomer. Again, sort of just dampening the offense coming out of the Dynamax right away. An Earthquake coming out from Sock. That's going to be a dead Salazzle. So as of now, we have Goomy, who has now a burned Thundurus. His Dynamax is burned. He's in his Dynamax, whereas Goomer lost his Salazzle. I'd say the game is still pretty much even at this point. That Salazzle being the main setup Pokemon for the Cobalion. Cobalion's still pretty strong, but it is a lot more effective with those justified boosts. And as you can see right now, you can see Goomer's Pokemon. He doesn't have anything with an Airstream resist, which against Thundurus is a big problem. And right now, even though Thundurus is burned, Goomer is not in a great position here. Thundurus can still do a lot of damage, can probably OHKO this Pelipper. I don't know how much... and Airstream's still going to do a ton of damage to Bulu if it doesn't knock it out. And then you have Sock to deal with as well. So if I'm Goomer here, I'm going to try to do what I can to stall out his Dynamax and maybe win with it Cobalion in the end. But it's not looking too great. Like I said, both teams, they have these very hyper-offensive Dynamax options, and it's really about how they use them to snowball and create momentum for their team. Max Lightning coming out into the Pelipper. Wow. Pelipper is a goner, and there goes the grassy terrain as well. So it is just a Cobalion and a Tapu Bulu taking on all 4 of Goomy's Pokemon. Goomer taking some time on his decision, not knowing who he wants to use as his Dynamax candidate right here. Now, because of the electric terrain, there is really no threat of a sleep powder from this Tangela, but still, it is very bulky. It's very defensively bulky, and or physically bulky, and it's actually going to protect here though, as the Thundurus doesn't feel too threatened here. And actually, yeah, I like that move from Goomy. Yeah, that Airstream's still doing a decent chunk of damage. Trying to use its last turn of Dynamax to make something happen. Cobalion goes for a Mega Horn into the Tangela, so that was actually a really good play on Goomy's part. But Rockfall is going to take out. Wow, we don't even see a crit there. I guess I just underestimate Bulu's damage. That is Life Orb Bulu though, so that's a strong Pokemon right there. Tapu Bulu, not really one of the Pokemon I mentioned as the Dynamax candidate for both teams, but it is a very strong Pokemon. You don't see it played a lot in like VGC, but it has very high attack power. And with that Life Orb, it is going to be whacking. Now this Tangela is going to be a big problem for Goomer because he really wants to eliminate these threats while he has his Dynamax, but he's going to end up using a lot of this and possibly his next Dynamax turn just trying to get rid of this Tangela, which I'm assuming is going to Rage Powder. Tapu Bulu, actually Tapu Bulu's Grass type. What am I thinking? Tapu Bulu's Grass type, so it can ignore that Rage Powder, go right for the Cinderace, which could help out Goomer a lot. This Cobalion, though, if I had to guess, is probably going for a Mega Horn into this. Ouch, a Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz takes out the Tapu Bulu. Doesn't quite have the bulk to survive a Flare Blitz from a Cinderace, which is very, very hard hitting. Cinderace taking a lot of damage there, but it's probably worth it. I don't think this Cobalion has it in it to take out the rest of Goomy's team, as he still has a Pokemon in the back after these two. And as you can see, their Tangela just incredibly physically bulky. That's probably Eviolite Tangela. I think that's what you run 99% of the time you have a Tangela. And Goomer's gonna have to figure out something, some way to get rid of this Tangela, because as you can see, when it gets in position, it's really annoying. It's very, very, very bulky. Flare Blitz, this just might be the ball game. And it is. So Goomy takes game 2. We are tied now, 1-1. And again, a very quick game, as both teams seem to be extremely hyper offensive. It just comes down to how they're utilizing their Dynamax, who has the speed control and who can really dish out the damage first. Right there, you saw Goomer was in decent position with the Dynamax Tapu Bulu, but Goomy just had that Cinderace in the back with the disgustingly powerful Flare Blitz to take care of it. So, and a good utilization of the Thundurus. Maybe he didn't expect the Will-O-Wisp from the Salazzle, but even still, the Thundurus did a lot of work. It it took out the Pelipper. It was increasing its speed. It was doing damage. Well played by Goomy there. I think that game, was it 4 turns? That game might have been 4 turns as well, was it? It's either 4 or 5. Yeah, I think that was a 5-turn game. So yeah, these are very hyper offensive games, very quick, very intense games, which puts a lot of pressure on who you lead. You know, what you choose as your lead, what your opponent leads, because you know, you can nearly lose on turn 1 with these kind of matchups. I'm curious to see if Goomy brings his Purloin, because I haven't seen it yet. He has not brought it in either game. He hasn't brought in actually the Ludicolo, as far as I'm concerned, or the Purloin, unless he had Ludicolo in the back last game. Oh, he didn't, though. No, he didn't. He brought Sock. He had Sock and Cinderace in the back. So, haven't brought Ludicolo yet. Haven't brought Purloin yet. Goomer still hasn't brought in the Sudowoodo yet. Let's see if those 3 come this battle. As you can see, we have Goomy finally opting for the Ludicolo, and I do apologize from earlier mentioning that he had no way to kind of set up his Ludicolo. He has that Purloin who does get access to Rain Dance, but right here you're seeing he doesn't even need it, because Goomer has set the Rain for Goomy with the Pelipper. This honestly looks like it could be really good for Goomy here. As I'm assuming this is kind of what he wanted as far as his lead. I mean, he already has Rain, he has Ludicolo in position. Purloin, you know, gets access to Fake Tears, Fake Out. It could be really annoying here. You know, you could see a Swagger Lumberry set on Ludicolo. It could even go physical. And Goomer hasn't seen these 2 Pokemon, so he really doesn't know what to expect here, and he doesn't want to lose on turn 1. So expecting maybe a Fake Out into the Pelipper. He's going to go for the switch into the Salamence, lowering the attack of both their Pokemon. So if Ludicolo is physical, this will hinder him a little bit, but we'll see. As that Ludicolo is going to go big. Dynamax Ludicolo, a staple of Goomy 2020's gameplay. A staple. A classic Goomy. And Goomer is going to Dynamax as well. He says, hey, if you're going to Dynamax, I'm just going to freaking Dynamax. So it is a big old grass type for us. This is a big old grass type. Purloin goes for the trick. Wow. And Goomy with the max Hailstorm into the Tapu Bulu. I think that was an extremely risky play, and it paid off immensely as Goomer just wastes his Dynamax. I honestly would not have expected that at all. And now Goomy is looking extremely good here. I mentioned earlier, this comes down to how you use your Dynamax and how you can create momentum for your team. And Goomer just was forced to switch out his Dynamax without even getting a single move off. Pelipper going to come back out, reset the Rain. Or reset the Hail into Rain. That's another thing that's scary about this Purloin Ludicolo lead is there's a lot of things Purloin can do. You know, like I said, Swagger could have, fake tears. It could have, as you see here, it went with the trick eject button, which there's just so many options for it, which makes it really, really scary as it's just so versatile and so dangerous to that prankster ability. Goomer trying to think of a way out of this. He's got a Ludicolo. He knows it has access to Hailstorm. The Salamence is clearly threatened here. You know, the Ludicolo probably able to do big damage to Pelipper as well. And then this Purloin is just sitting out here ready to be annoying. Okay, so the Purloin actually tricks the Pelipper, which is actually good. It's actually quite good for the Pelipper because now it's not choiced into whatever move it chooses, and it actually is going to do a little extra damage here. So, oh, but it misses. No, it doesn't miss. It connects the Hurricane, but the Ludicolo has the Koba Berry. Smart prep on Goomy's end, as Goomer does have some big flying type threats. So Purloin now stuck with that Choice Scarf unless it chooses to trick it away again, which it could very well do. Purloin again does go for the trick. Let's see who it's giving this Choice Scarf to. It's giving it to the Salamence. And the Purloin now obtains the Safety Goggles, which, again, a great play. A great play by Goomy. But on Goomer's side, he actually takes out this Dynamax Ludicolo with a very, very powerful dual Wing Beat. Pelipper going for a Tailwind. So all of a sudden, the momentum is sort of shift to Goomer here because he's got a couple speedy Pokemon out here with the Tailwind. Salamence very powerful, as you know. You know, Pelipper's not the most offensive Pokemon, but it's not weak. He does have to deal with this Purloin, though, which is going to make it hard for the Cinderace to deal with it. I mean, this Salamence is probably ready to do big damage to this Cinderace, but the Purloin is just obnoxious. And it's got those safety goggles, so it's not going to take any damage from, you know, things like the hail. Any other small chip damage like that. Goomer trying to be careful about selecting his move, trying to get out of this. Purloin actually goes for the Sunny Day. Oh, we see a missed dual Wing Beat, and that could be very crucial. Pelipper going for the Skull, saved by the Sunny Day. The Cinderace was saved there, as you can see, it did just a little over half in the sun. And Cinderace going for the bounce. That would have been a dead Cinderace had Purloin not did Sunny Day or Goomer not missed that dual Wing Beat. That's kind of a big deal, but Goomer still has all his Pokemon here, even though he didn't get, you know, to utilize his Dynamax at all. He didn't lose Tapu Bulu. It just took some damage, so you know, this game 3 a little more tricky, no pun intended, than the last two. As you can see, both opponents have utilized their Dynamaxes. They still have quite a few Pokemon left, and they're trying to figure out the best way to play out this endgame. You can see Goomer switching out the Salamence, probably wanting to utilize that Intimidate upon switching again. He's going to double out into Sudowoodo and Tapu Bulu. Kind of a scary play if this Cinderace's bounce is going into the Bulu slot. And let's see. It is not. It goes into the Sudowoodo, so a very good switch on Goomer's part. Sudowoodo does get paralyzed, though. We'll see if that comes into play. And Goomy switching out for that Tangela. So he's got the Cinderace and the Tangela out here. He's obviously trying to dish out damage, you know, with the Cinderace before it can go down, and it's going to use that. He's going to use that Tangela to protect it. Now, this Tapu Bulu is threatened by the Cinderace, but luckily it outspeeds it because of the Tailwind. He actually withdraws the Cinderace and throws back in the Purloin, probably just trying to conserve his only damage dealer at this point, and trying to stall the Tailwind. Not a bad move on Goomy's part at all, and he sort of wastes this Salaman's Intimidate. Tapu Bulu going for the Stone Edge. That's a ton of damage. Tangela going for the Leaf Storm into what was the Sudowoodo slot, but unfortunately it's hitting this Salamence now and doing very little damage. But Tailwind is up, I believe, if I saw correctly. So Goomer may be wanting to reset it, as really all he has to do is kind of take care of, set up to take care of the Cinderace. And he's in pretty good position to win. Goomy, on the other hand, trying to really chip down Goomer's Pokemon, get Cinderace in a position where it can just kind of close out the game with final hits here. He really, really needs that Tangela support, though. Now, something to note here is that Tangela naturally outspeeds all of these Pokemon, except for the Salamence, who it now has a Choice Scarf because of the earlier tricks that were done by the Purloin. That could come into play. But it looks like Goomer might want to get this Tailwind up with the Pelipper. And he's also kind of forcing this Purloin to throw up a Sunny Day if it doesn't want to inhibit the power of those Flare Blitzes. Great switch by Goomer. He maybe predicted the fake out, maybe not, but either way. Purloin goes down to a Stone Edge by the Tapu Bulu. And now we're seeing Goomy has no other switch options. He's got his final two Pokemon out here, Cinderace and Tangela. Not the best position, but this is the position that he wants in the end game as far as his last two Pokemon. He's got his damage dealer protected by that Tangela. Goomer just has to worry about, how do I get rid of this Tangela quickly so that I don't take too much damage before I can start hitting that Cinderace. This Tangela is sort of forced to just spam Rage Powders here. Although you could see a Cinderace going for, a bounce, and the Tangela could Sleep Powder. I mean, there's some tricky things that could come out here. Wow, Cinderace going for an Iron Head into the Salamence. The Salamence barely hangs on. I don't know if that necessarily mattered, though, because the Pelipper does take out the Cinderace with a Hurricane. And the Tangela is going to go for a Leaf Storm into the Pelipper. Now, I don't know if the Iron Head not taking out the Salamence really mattered here, but that would have been a really nice big play for Goomy, as he would have taken out both of Goomer's Pokemon right there. But as you can see, I don't think a Tangela has the power to take on a Tapu Bulu and a Sudowoodo. This is looking pretty close to GG's. It's looking like it's in Goomer's favor. I don't see how Tangela can take out this Tapu Bulu unless it has like a sludge bomb or something. Tangela is extremely physically bulky though, like we talked about, and Goomer does have all physical Pokemon left. Salamence going for a dual wing beat, and even as powerful as Salamence is, with that flying stab, doesn't even do 50% against this Tangela. Tapu Bulu going for a big wood hammer, not doing too much damage. Tangela going for the Leaf Storm into the Salamence, and at this point, you know, with all that special attack drops, and it just, if it Leaf Storms its only attacking move anyways, it doesn't really have a way through this Bulu, so we'll see if Goomer can just close this one out this turn. This game was probably the most exciting out of all three, if I had to choose. It's also the longest game. We got to see the three Pokemon that they were hiding from us the first two games, and a really interesting set, to be honest. Looking at both teams, I don't know if one really had the favorable matchup against the other. Tangela going for a power swap. That's some really interesting tech shown there by Goomy. Not going to really do anything for him here in this endgame, as the head smash, the super powerful head smash from the Sudowoodo finishes off the Tangela, and Goomer takes game 3. He takes the set 2-1. Wow. A really good set, honestly. GG's to both players. Really, really good set.